Sova or Fade? That's the question. Now, Fade's obviously the newest agent in Valorant, and Sova's been the king for a while, boasting one of the highest play rates across pretty much every rank in casual and also in pro play. But now there's a new agent in town that has something that no other agent was able to reproduce, and that's a Haunt versus the Dart. Both of them are able to scan people through walls, so that begs the question, which agent is better? And during this video, that's exactly what we're going to be finding out. I recorded this live on my stream, so in the case you ever wanted to come in and tune in for one of these live recordings where I answer questions and cover cool topics like this, make sure to check out the description below. We're gonna start with Sova because Sova has notoriously been known for the agent to play on Ascent. So we'll go over why some of the things are good, what normal tendencies are as Sova, and then we'll kind of move on after that. So the comment dart you'll see for Sova is darting that tree. We'll kind of fly over, scan sight. There's also this one. Scan sight. You can throw one for like front sight here or something like that. That's a pretty, like, it's more rare. Usually people will focus toward the back of sight. So that can all relatively be replicated by Fade. So we're going to say that usually you will try to aim for an eye that goes up here. You can even get an eye that lands like up here, but you probably need a know a lineup. But likewise, I will say Sova Dart is harder to hit compared to Fade Eye, but I don't think that that should be the only kind of reason to pick Sova, because you have to think that by this point you probably know where the Sova darts fly. It's here and it's here, and you're ready for the Sova dart, almost more ready than you are with Fade. The next thing is, oh, what does drone do? Well, toward the B side you'll normally try to walk up close. Maybe you can even drone early to try to push any oppers off this angle, but besides that you probably drone onto sight and you'll look for someone. It might get broken here, market, CT, lane, or anyone on site. That's usually kind of the goal with the drone, to see if you can get some. I would say that most of the time it gets broken pretty early. It gets broken right outside of B main. Someone peeks from stairs, breaks it real quick, and then falls back onto site, so it doesn't really do anything. Next is the dart for mid. You'll either dart somewhere like here just for close mid, or you'll dart from top mid and you'll aim for this wall or something like that. And that's just a scan for the mid push. Likewise, there's not really that big of a difference from the Haunt. I will say that for majority of the times on Ascent, your Haunt will have done the same thing as a Sova dart. All right, and then on the A site, usually aim for back here. You'll see sometimes people aim for somewhere around here. Point is to scan sight. There's nothing really much about that. Your drone will usually go from A main and you'll drone through and you'll clear sight, something like this. Obviously not super huge brain, but yeah, a lot of times you'll get it broken from heaven. Sometimes you'll get it broken from dice and they'll just hide behind this box, which is hard to break, but hopefully you get a tag on. Let's talk about how you would comparatively play Fade. So your Haunt can be something simple. You can just throw it over the site. There's obviously better lineups in that one, but that one's not even that bad, and it scans all of sight as well as close lane. You can dog early to push any oppers off of this angle, and then you can dog again once you're coming out of sight. Your C's is okay. Usually you will probably save it. Sometimes you can throw it to see if you can catch someone off that's sitting in one of your smokes, but besides that, you don't really find a use for C's until maybe later on in the round. The thing is, you have a second dog. Yes, the first drone clears about up to here. Maybe you can push up toward lane, maybe you can push up to stairs, but like I said earlier, generally someone swings out to break it so it doesn't get that much information. Especially if someone's like posted here, your drone will get broken immediately. Like literally they'll just be posted here, they'll see the drone, they'll break it and they'll fall off. You might tag them, right? You tag them, they'll fall back. You likely can't capitalize on it. So that's why it's not that great, because it usually gets broken for free. You can dog lane as you're coming out, and then you guys can come out, and that's why this dog is so much better. You can even do something like this. You'll like go check logs real quick and then turn to check boat. So it'll come this way. If someone's logs, it'll like attach and you'll know. Otherwise it'll turn around and clear boat, and then you'll also know. That's kind of the biggest tells. It clears a lot of the angles, and because you have two, you can kind of use them separately. Yes, the drone is better. You can see where they are. Yes, you can tag people, so therefore you can see through the wall. But let's talk about the actual usefulness, and that is the Fade dog will clear the areas that you need to. And even drone sometimes doesn't do as much as, let's say, a dog does, because you can't push with it. When you're droning, you can't aggressively push behind it. You're in a state where you can't do anything and you're letting your team flow out first, and you kind of just have to wait. That's essentially why that Fade on Ascent is starting to see more play than Sova, because you have this ability. Now let's talk about stuff that is harder for Sova to do compared to Fade. That's like going up cat. Like, yes, you could drone from maybe Sub Rosa, that's kind of safe, right? But the thing is, once you've used your one drone, you're unable to use it anywhere else. You only have one. Dog, all cleared, and then I'll go up tree. Okay, great. That cleared up a lot of space, and your drone isn't gonna do any much different. Like that would be the whole point of the drone, is to clear anyone who is holding these tight corners so that your team can get safely up. Mid is the same thing. You can clear mid really easily, and then after checking, you cleared all this corner. You even can clear some of market. The drone would have done the same thing, and this way you can actually stay close to your dog, so in the case that it does latch onto someone, you guys can get the kill. As for A, I would say that in this case, generally A does favor Sova a little bit more. That's just strictly because the drone actually doesn't get broken very easily, and if it does get broken, they're kind of very pinned down. So even if you break the drone right here, if it tags you, you're in a very like susceptible spot, especially if that moment Jet dashes out, you're gonna feel kind of stuck. And Fade is a little bit harder because it's harder for her to reach the dog onto site before it gets broken early. And even if it's broken early, because this is usually smoked out, you don't have that much information. The dart is the same. Normally you'll try to aim your eye for something like up here, and that scans pretty much the same as the Sova darts, and this one actually sometimes pops earlier. So yeah, there's kind of that. Now on the defense side, you're gonna notice that Fade is just in a general sense usually a lot better. You can still do the same thing with a dart. We're gonna say that Haunt and Dart are almost interchangeable. I will say Dart is probably a little bit better. People can beg to differ, but I think the Dart is better. The Dog or the Prowler is generally better than the drone, like almost always on the defense side, because you can easily use one to just gain information, to check if anyone's up cat. You have see that nobody is up cat. Really great. You have another one you can use to hold the site. Next is you get smoked out a lot. Let's say tree, right? When they're coming out, you toss your dog out and you swing with it through the smoke, and someone is going to get blind or is going to be forced to shoot the dog. Can't guarantee you that with Sova. You just don't have that sort of battle style with Sova. You're generally just using the drone to get information, and it's very one-sided. Another big thing with drone is dog is one price difference on first round. Yes, so you can get a drone and you have to get light shields on Sova, but as Fade you can get one Prowler and you can get an upgraded gun. So you're forced to go light shields with Sova. You're not forced to go with Fade because you can. It's cheaper. That being said, you're just allowed to play like more aggressively with your Prowler, sending it out and swinging it through. Likewise, Sova can't. We can compare shock darts. Shock darts and seizes are different in play style. You will usually use a seize to try to catch someone in the choke point. You can do combos with Fade. You can't do that with Sova. Sova has double shocks, but double shocks have been kind of nerfed. Sova's better for breaking util. Yeah, I would say those are just kind of different aspects. It's going to be hard to compare those, but you'll find that especially like on Ascent, this orb, you can get a lot of value from seizing these choke points, which are super easy. So let's kind of keep going. We'll go into Bind. So Bind was also notoriously a Sova map, although you started seeing Sky being played a lot more. So we're going to start with Sova, and we're going to kind of go over, obviously, what Sovas do. We'll start with the defending side this time. So Sovas usually play B. What do you usually do? You dart long, right? Also, what happens 90% of the time? They break the dart, because they know. Everyone knows there's this dart, there's this dart, right? Those are generally the darts for long. Scan, see if anyone's long. If no one's long, then you can rotate off B, right? You can do the same thing with Fade. Yes, they break it more easily, but these darts are so common, they're pretty much the same thing. And then after that, you're gonna look toward darting sight, right? As they're pushing out, coming out hookah, you dart somewhere like there, and you can scan and you can spam them through. Sometimes you will see Sovas drone through the TP. and check for long real quick, and then they'll go through the TP and they'll check outside of shower and see if anyone's there. I would say in this case, that's a pretty good use of the drone, especially if you see no one long, you confirm no one's out long, and you also check outside of shower. Twice the value. Before we continue, I'd like to shout out the sponsor of this video, Clout Fantasy. Clout Fantasy is an app that allows you to integrate your Valorant prowess into making a little bit of money. Essentially, it's similar to fantasy sports, where you can place bets on certain things happening within a game. It'll be particular challenges such as who has the highest KDR, who gets first blooded, and so much more. As always, with any sort of betting, there comes a risk. So please play responsibly. Personally, what I've done is grab a few of my friends, throw up a Valorant match on the screen, and then we all join the $5 double up, where with just $5, we have the ability to double it and also win a bunch of prizes. If you're interested in playing, there's a link down below in the description that gets you a $100 match deposit bonus, so you can get started on that. But without further ado, let's keep going on to the video. On the defense though, like I said, you'll find that the drone is just not as useful. That was like you can kind of like late do that, and that's probably the most value you can do. If you do it off the rip, unless they're rushing, it doesn't tell you that much. If they're playing slow, you know, it maybe attack someone, they break it, they continue playing slow, you don't get that much information. Drone is just generally not that good on the defensive side. Like what are you gonna try to drone short? Okay, well, they're gonna be back here, they'll break it for free. Try to drone shower, it's like it doesn't do that much besides gain you information. You actually get more value out of Sova drone when it doesn't spot anybody, because it clears more area when it doesn't spot somebody. If you go down long and you clear all of this, that's a lot of area that is gained. If you go down short and you clear that and no one breaks it, then that's a lot of information gained. But every instance where someone is there to break it, you lose a lot of value because it doesn't tell you much. Usually the attackers are pushed back and they're waiting to explode onto site. Now on the attack side, Sova isn't bad. You'll find that you'll want to dart like back site. You can dart like this corner right here, and you can scan a lot of front site as well, and that gets a lot of coverage. Drone is good for going up long and clearing garden, right? That's where you see a lot of Sovas do. They'll also dart, like they'll bounce a dart up off this wall and land somewhere up here, right? And then if that doesn't see anyone, then they'll come up and they'll drone through sight, right? And then you can tag and all that jazz. So it's okay. Why I say it's okay is because a lot of people nowadays know how to play against Sova. It's just super easy. Everyone knows, oh, I hear a drone. They don't peek right away. They wait for the drone to come out a little bit, so that way it has to look multiple directions, and then they swing out, try to break it while the drone is like looking, and therefore they don't have enough time to tag you. Smart play, especially at high elo, it's super easy to counter drone. You just kind of know what exactly is going on. I say it's okay because if you do get the tag on someone, then they're forced to play very, very constricted. They can only stay toward like, because this is penetrable, they can only stay like right here to like right here. And if they're backside, they'll get naded. If they're cubby, they're kind of dead, right? But besides that, you usually save a dart for backside, something onto site. It's just very simple. It's not super surprising, and then you'll go out on it. Now we're gonna talk about why Fade is better, and you're gonna find out that like it gives you a whole world of opportunity. So let's talk about clearing on the attacking side. How would you compare the attacking side? Normally you would drone this, right? You're gonna compare the dog. All right, you can clear all of that. Yep, showers is clear. If you did this with a drone, that's your one drone that you've gotten to do. Your drone has no advantage in showers over the Fade dog. Pretty much zero. Likewise, you want to clear U-Haul. Your teammates flood out. You dog through U-Haul. Nobody's there. Now you have U-Haul control for free. If it tags someone, you also have U-Haul. You probably can just swing that guy, get the kill. If it gets broken, now you know somebody's there. You double swing him, you get the kill. You get U-Haul for free. Hookah, we'll look at it, is the same thing. It's super easy to clear left and right. All of Hookah is free. It does pretty much the same thing as a Roomba, although I would say that this is actually better than the Roomba because the Fade Dog is, you can move up with it. So if I do this, like I clear left and then I clear right and then I let go and then I'm starting to push up. If it latches on, I'll swing while they're shooting it. Now as for the darts, or the haunts, you can aim for the top of truck. That will essentially do the same thing. There's also one up here, and that does pretty much the same thing. There's also ones for up there. Look, I'm not the best Fade player, but the idea is the same thing. You can cover what you want to cover as Sova with the dart, with the haunt. Outside of a bind, normally you're going to want to aim for a haunt that kind of goes around here. And that does relatively the same thing if you can. I think there is actually one to get it there. I don't know it though. But you'll see that it does the same thing as the dart. So what we're really comparing is the drone. And you can even do what the drone does here toward garden. And I would dare say that the Prowler is better for this because if they're here, it'll attach to them. It'll lock on. You can more easily swing off of it. It makes this Skye much more annoying to deal with, because a lot of times, let's say a Phoenix, a Flash character is like playing Garden, right? They'll just flash and swing, and then if you're full blind stuck here, you have nowhere to run, you die. With the Prowler, it's different because you can be right behind your Prowler. So doing something like this, and then latching on, they have to break it and then pull out their flash, right? Let's imagine this is a flash. If it's a drone, that's easy to do because you know the Sova is deeper. That they're droning from deeper away, you can do it, and then you have more time to do it, rather than a Prowler where you're already up. They don't have that in-between time where they can pull out their flash. And then as for hitting sites, you can always clear this corner, you can clear that corner, but with Sova, it's harder because you spent your drone to get up into Garden. You could spend your drone to get up here, but it can be broken from backside. And likewise, remember 2, in this case, 2 doing almost the same job as the drone is better than 1 better dog. We'll say Sova drone is a better dog. Defense is the same thing on all maps. You can be aggressive with it. With that being said, let's hop into some maps where you'll see Sova be better than Fade. So the first one I will talk about is Breeze. People will say, oh, you can tag someone with the drone and then ult with Sova. You could Fade ult the site, which takes away HP, takes away their sound, and creates trails that lock your Prowlers on. But yeah, I guess Sova, you can tag one and you can ult him, right? You see how that's like, you see the widened variety there? You can clear all of sight with 1, or you can get 1 kill. Likely 1 kill, sometimes 1 kill, let's be honest, sometimes 1 kill. In general, you're gonna find that Fade utility does more across more maps. Isn't Skye just better than Fade because the flashes do what the dogs do on Fade? But yes, you can kind of compare it. The Skye dog is better than Fade dog. Skye dog, though, will also say 1 is only 1, so that's always an issue, the fact that you only have 1. But also, let's talk about how you don't have the haunt. The haunt is very strong because you can see behind smokes, you get a lot of free information. It's like the Sova dart. Skye doesn't have that. You can get general information with the flash, like, oh, they're in this vicinity, but it doesn't tell you that much besides that. So I wouldn't say like that sort of information is the same as a dart. Dart a lot of the times has like a specific instance where it's strong against smokes. We're gonna talk mostly on the fact that on the attack side, Sova is just significantly stronger. Because on Breeze, we'll talk about the A site. This is all like the normal Viper wall cuts the site diagonally. You as a Fade player cannot dog all of this. It won't reach all of this. And your haunt will likely also not reach far enough for it to be better. You could throw one kind of like here, but it would land on the ground. If you knew a lineup, maybe you could throw it up here, but you'll also notice that it's much harder to line up mid jump, right? Because you don't want to be like standing out here lining up your haunt lineup so it lines on the top of pyramid. You're gonna die to someone who just swings out. With the Sova dart, you just quickly jump and then you just shoot it through the back, and then you could tuck and then the scans and then you push out with it. Drone goes farther, and this is where the range of the drone matters. Because if you tag someone in the back, you can continually scan and you see much deeper. On the other maps, like I showed, like Bind and Ascent, you'll notice that the distance that you can see as the drone is not that big of a difference from what the Prowler can see. So when on this specific map, and I would say even Icebox, I'll go over that later, the drone gets more value because it can see further. Prowler can't do that. So that's why you'll see Sova is better than Fade. On the B site is the same thing. Look how big this site is. How are you going to ever get a haunt that deep that would clear back sight? You can't, right? You just literally can't. You can get a Prowler that clears close, yeah, sure, but like the rest of sight is just too far for a Prowler to be efficient at. I'm not saying that Fade is terrible. I'm just saying Sova is a better pick. So let's try to clear close, clear left, and it's gonna fade out before it even clears this. And then what? You want to activate one to clear backside? You're gonna pull out your Fade dog here when you're capable of getting spammed from here and here. No, you want to have your gun out for anyone that is close or swings through the Viper wall. You're gonna notice that it's kind of hard to like line up anything. Like, okay, throw one here. It's not that great. You want kind of maybe good luck, try to guess that. Yeah, it doesn't do it that well. It's not easy to do. All right, we'll go over one more map, and that is Icebox. I have seen Fade on Icebox. I don't think it's the best, but in a lot of instances, I think this is the 50-50. So we'll go over how you change your playstyle depending on the initiator you're playing. So if you're playing Sova, your playstyle is going to be very different from if you're playing Fade. All right, Sova, defense side, natural thing is to try to dart toward belt, see if they're even coming toward A, right? Otherwise, it's darting toward B, darting somewhere up here, trying to see if they're coming toward B, or you can dart toward middle and just see if they're going through middle. These are general ones. There's better darts out there, but I'm just showing the general gist. Those get a lot of early information really well. Now on the attack side, the darts usually go here to push the defenders, to stop the defenders from pushing, or you'll usually try to save your dart for either one that goes up here, right here, and CN's close, or you'll save it for back yellow and just drone this early. So how would you play the attack side? Because that's really where it's going to differentiate between the initiators. You usually come out here, you drone up through maze, and then your team will scale behind it. You'll check site, clear everything site, and then your team will push behind it, hopefully trading positively, and there you go. Toward B, the common thing to do is usually, I would say usually, drone this, see if anyone's holding deep of these angles. You can kind of clear under real quick. There could be top box, check all of this, check the close cubby, and after you push up, you dart back yellow. No one's back yellow. You can dart for this one to be a little bit more safe. But that one's easily broken from someone's site to check for here. Then after that, you get onto site. That's generally how you use Sova util. Now let's go over to fade. So a lot of the eyes you can see, like this belt one, you can do just as easily. It doesn't require a lineup anything. It usually doesn't. This mid one is a little bit harder. You're generally not throwing this mid eye because it just doesn't get as much value. I think you can get one here. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can get one there. So that one also checks for B main. So you can kind of do some similar to the same thing, but I will say that generally you won't. You'd rather use the haunt on the hit because it could be a little bit easier to get value out of. What you'll notice, the differentiating factor is how you play, like let's say A site. A site, you will dog through maze, and this will allow you to easily push up or your team to follow up right behind it, and it's a lot more aggressive. If someone is here, they're gonna find them being like overrun really a lot of the time just because the dog chases after them, they're running, and this guy just swings behind it and gets the kill. You can't do that with the drone as easily because when they hear the drone and it's much farther away that you're droning from. But from fade, you can kind of do it as you're running up, and you kind of just have more hit potential. Next is, since you have a second dog, if there's a wall here, you can kind of clear back sight for them. And that a lot of times gets a lot of value there that you wouldn't see on Sova. Now toward B side is where you're gonna notice that fade is kind of a little bit worse than Sova, because if you're smart as a team and you guys end up getting up B main without the need of a drone or a dart, you can drone through sight and you gain a lot of that value that we were talking about in terms of distance. The drone will see all the way down to the snowman, as well as clear anyone on site, and the tag elongates the amount of period where if they're tagged, they are out of the fight, allowing you for a safer plant. Now for a dog, you can get through the initial part pretty easily, like just doing like something like this. And you can even use your dog to clear through yellow, to check yellow. But like you'll see that you don't have any utility to deal with the far ones, and you're going to just find that B site hits will usually favor Sovas. Their dart can go deeper. You can even aim here. That was the safest route I decided to use for Sova, which is droning from here and then darting back here. That's the safest. Like, you will probably not die if you do that, because it'll clear everything close and it'll dart back sight. So there's like nothing that could be yellow, nothing could be from B main. If you just cheat a little, I'll say, and use your Sova a little bit later, or use some sort of other utility to clear the site, even just a jump peek, and you spot that nobody's here, you can get here super free, and you can use your drone to clear other things that gain massive amounts of value that Fade just can't. Now, let's just kind of go over the ult and the comparisons. So you'll find that Fade ult gets a lot of value, but it starts sucking a little bit more once you run out of prowlers because you're unable to combo. It's still good, but you'll find that it's like a little bit worse if you don't use it with some sort of prowler because you can't follow up as hard. Sova, on the other hand, you can kind of just use it to deny plant. You can use it to with the dart tag and then ulting, dry ulting. There's a lot of ways you could still get value, and in the end, Sova ult will deal direct damage compared to a utility ult like Fade that sometimes will get damage. So on Ascent, we went over, that's a Fade map, Bind, Fade, Breeze, Sova. Fracture, I will say, Fracture is also Fade. If you just think about the A site through that tunnel way on the attack side, the dog is better than the drone. Haven's like a toss-up. The dart is really solid on both sides and it's been used for so long. Fade is very strong at clearing, let's say, garage, clearing short A, and clearing front B. Those are the 3 areas that you really want to think, because they're close range and the dog can just clear all the left angle and the right angle, and you don't have to worry about them when you're pushing. Icebox, I said it's more of a 50-50. Pearl right now is a fade map, and that's because of art, as well as the fact that you can clear a lot of the closer angles towards mid with the fade dog, and you get more areas you can work with. Anyway, that's my rant of fade versus Sova. This will be a YouTube video, guys, so say hi to YouTube.